People always say that you have to have money to make money, and that there's an extraordinary level of sacrifice on the road to success. So how is it that investors like us, who didn't start out with much money and who don't rely on banks and credit, how is it that we can increase our income and build our wealth in a way that doesn't require us replacing one full-time job with another while still enjoying the things in life that matter most to us? That has always been the big question, and this podcast reveals the answers. I am Carrie Lake, and this is the Investor Warrior. Hey everybody, and TGIF. I hope everyone is having a fantastic week, and I'm so excited to end the week with Kyle Rodges, who is currently sitting in his Rubicon Jeep in Utah, and you have your RV behind you, which is awesome because you basically live in an RV full time with your family. Is that correct?
Yeah. We have this adventurepreneur lifestyle to where we travel full time. We do virtual deals. Our whole team's virtual. Everything's remote, and it's awesome. It's a lot of fun, and I enjoy to tell the story of what we do because it inspires other people to do the same, and it's really cool to see. But yeah, I'll show you guys where we're at right now. We're in Moab, Utah. So we just got this Jeep Rubicon recently, and now we're taking it off-roading in Moab. And this is just a gorgeous area. And, so we're going to hit up the trails because this is definitely a popular off-roading spot. But I wanted to take time out before we went out and drop some value for you guys.
That's awesome. So first off, thank you for taking some time away from your family. Just grateful to have you on here, and really excited to talk about like how you got into, well, first off, I want to know how you ended up in an RV full time with your family. And second, I want to get into your story of your real estate investing career and how you got into this focus into Facebook group marketing, because this is a different kind of marketing that I don't think a lot of people talk about, except, I don't hear a lot about this. And it's interesting because it's pretty much organic marketing. So that's 100% awesome.
Free.
Yeah. And we love free, right? Yeah. Especially when free and marketing go in the same sentence. So first off, if you could just share a quick story about you, introduce yourself to the group, and what brought you to Utah in an RV?
Yeah. So traveling has always been something that I've been passionate about and I've wanted to do. I've been in direct sales and marketing for the last decade, and a lot of that was working for DirecTV. And I was always working on locations. I would go to events, and I had to travel a lot to events, but it wasn't like fun traveling. It was work traveling. And I enjoyed seeing new things, but it was never like iconic places and iconic sites. And I just always wanted something more. But to me, that wasn't a reality. That was something that I could put in my 10-year plan. Maybe eventually I'll be able to do it. But I got to the point to where I was just driven to be able to make it happen, to be able to manifest it and be able to go completely virtual to where I don't have to be, live where I'm working. I can travel freely. I can work remotely. And one day we made it happen. This was just 2 years ago. I figured out the virtual wholesaling thing. It just clicked. And after struggling with it for a long time, I'll go into the struggle part deeper here in a little bit. But once it clicked and once things started falling into place and I had motivated seller leads flooding my way, I told my wife, I'm like, this is working. Like, we don't have to stay here. I don't have to go and see every house. I don't have to go see every property that we're trying to tie up. I've learned how to do this virtual, and I've learned how to find deals online. Let's make this happen now. Let's collapse time. This isn't our 10-year plan anymore. This is our today plan. Let's do it. And she said, yeah, okay, let's do it. Our daughter was 4 at the time, Eve. So we sold everything that we owned. We fit the rest that we had into backpacks and moved to Europe. And we were living in Europe for 6 months straight out of Airbnbs. So we're in these beautiful Airbnbs, some of them on water, some of them on these this huge canyon or this huge cliff in France.
Yeah.
Then I was over in Venice, in Saint Tropez, over in Croatia, Prague. So we were going all over the place and staying in these beautiful places as I was doing deals in the US. I was doing deals virtually, and it was
Wow.
all working. But even over there, I was hustling hard because I was still lone wolfing it. So that's when I decided, I'm like, I know how to build commission-based teams. I did it for DirecTV. I was number 7 top salesperson in the nation for them, and they hired me to build sales teams. Why don't I do this? Why don't I do that for this? So that I can actually leverage OPW, leverage other people's work, so I can have some time freedom back and enjoy myself. So it was over there that really clicked, and the team building stuff started to come into place.
Isn't it interesting sometimes, like your previous work, how it carries over to real estate investing, like certain things that you learned and certain things that you do in your business that you learned from like your previous career?
Oh, 100%. Totally. My sales background, all those years of doing door to door and cold calling and going to events, being able to make connections, make friends. I mean, that's crucial when building rapport with sellers, and also building rapport with your team. You have to think of your team as your customers. You have to give them an experience. You have to lead them with vision and keep them motivated and pumped up so that you don't lose them. And that's all. It's all sales.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. So, and that's the fact that you were living in Europe and going from Airbnb to Airbnb to Airbnb and investing in the US. I mean, you must have been hustling because, like you said, you were the lone wolf. So when was it, like, at what point did you switch to a commission-based acquisition team, and how did you make that transition?
So that was right when I got over there that I was able to make that switch. I was trying to build teams around other things when I first got started besides Facebook groups, but it didn't work. I fell flat on my face. For the first 6 months of my journey in real estate and wholesaling, it wasn't pretty. Like I went through the ringer. I didn't have this instant success that some people have. I had to go through it. And I got into real estate thinking it was going to be easy. For some reason, I don't know. I watch all these YouTube videos and everybody talks about how easy it is, how much money you can make without using any of your own money, which to a point is true, but it's a hustle. There's no magic bullet. There's no get rich quick thing. You have to work hard and you have to grind at whatever you're getting into. For myself, I left DirecTV because I was tired of being capped out. I was at a capped income. I was number 7 top seller in the nation and won a cruise, won trips and things like that. But I was never able to break $30,000. So I'm like, there's something wrong here. Like I'm not hitting my potential. So I'm like, what can I sell that's worth a lot more money? Real estate. That's what clicked. I didn't want to be an agent either. I didn't want to do any of that. I want to invest. When I found out that I can invest using the wholesaling method, I'm like, man, this is cool. Is this too good to be true? If it's so good, why isn't everybody doing it? I had that thought. And then when I got into it, it seemed like everybody was doing it. I'm like, oh man, I'm in Portland, Oregon. There's so many wholesalers. There's so much competition. I'm not getting any traction here. Let's build a team so that I can cover more ground. So I started building a commission-based team using my expertise back then when I was new and fresh into it. And I thought I just needed more volume. But we were doing direct mail. We were doing cold calling. We were looking up deals on online and pulling lists, and none of it was working. I was beating my head against the wall because it seemed like people in Portland, they'd get stacks and stacks of mail, to where they're like, they get frustrated that you're even sending mail to them, and they'll cuss you out on the phone. That's how bad it was over there. So I'm like, okay, I need to get a mentor. I need to figure this out. So I ended up working with this guy that did virtual flips all over the place. And he wanted me to be his acquisition manager in Portland. And he started spending $10,000 a month on direct mail because that's his favorite method. That's where he's made the most money. $10,000 a month he was spending in Portland. 4 months later, $40,000. Guess how many deals we got from that?
I'm afraid to ask.
I didn't get any, and I know some people kill it at direct mail, and it's a very good method if done correctly, but it didn't work for me. And I was sitting there with my head in my hands, just devastated, ready to walk away forever. And something went off in my head. There's a light bulb that clicked. There's a light bulb that went off. I'm like, you know what? I broke even on this campaign. Luckily, I made a little bit of money, not a lot, not for how much time I put into it, but I did make some money, and it was from leads that I found online. Some of them were from Craigslist, some of them were from Facebook. So I'm like, what if I put all of my attention, I laser focus on what I'm good at, in this online marketing aspect, and I just go all in and figure that out. So that's when I made that shift. I did that, and then I noticed that it works. Like, there's leads flooding in. They're coming to me warm. So it's not like cold calling when you're going to them and it's a cold conversation. Like, they're coming to you, right? They're coming in your house. So it's a lot warmer. And that's when I started to just really run with that. We moved to Europe. And then right when I got to Europe, I'm like, okay, time to build a team around this. I found something that worked. Let's go. And that's when I started getting recognition in the investing community and around other groups, real estate investing groups. And now we've grown our own community past 5,000 investors. And now I'm teaching this method to hundreds of different investors all across the United States.
All right, that's very cool. So, where did you find your acquisition people when you were first starting out? Because I think that's number one question is most people who are like looking to build a team is, where do I find these people? And then how do I structure the commission with my team members?
Right. So we have a setter closer structure. So you have appointment setters, and it's their job to get the lead to come in and then qualify the lead. And then you have the acquisition manager, and it's their job to talk on the phone to sellers, negotiate, put together the offer, and do all the follow-up up to the point to where the contract's tied down, to where the seller signs on the line. That way, by the time it gets to the investor, all they have to do is sign off on it. So the appointment setter gets 10% just for setting the appointment. Now, this doesn't just have to be built around groups, by the way. You guys can use this and apply it towards whatever method that you're using to get deals. That can be direct mail, that can be cold calling, that can be knocking doors. Whatever you're doing, you can build a commission-based team around it. Have them be the tip of the spear that's doing all your marketing, that's qualifying the leads. That way, your acquisition manager, their time is maximized because all they're doing is going to qualified appointments, making offers, doing follow-up, and closing deals. The acquisition manager gets 10% for any deals that they close from the setters.
So the appointment setter, they are finding the deals, they're pre-screening them, they're qualifying them, and then they're handing them over to the acquisition manager who's getting them basically under contract.
Exactly. Yeah. So the setter gets 10%, the closer, the acquisition manager gets 10%.
Awesome.
So they each get a cut. Now, if the acquisition manager sets their own appointment, because they can market too, and if they set their own appointment, they get the setter commission as well. So they can get a full 20%.
And how are you paying them? Are you paying them as something like on the closing settlement? How are they getting their commission?
So they get paid once the deal closes.
Right.
Now, for a wholesale, they get a percentage of the assignment. For deals that you end up flipping or that you're holding, they'd get a flat rate. It could be anywhere from 500 to 1,000 to 2,000, 3,000, depending on how big the deal is. You can make tiers, and you can get flat rates for properties that you're going to hold or flip.
Okay. And so how many people do you currently have on your team right now?
So I've got an acquisition manager and 5 setters. So all of these setters work under the acquisition manager to keep them booked. And they stay booked, and they're going to the appointments and getting deals tied down.
And is this all in one area, or are you focusing on different areas of the country now?
We generally focus on 2 to 3 markets at once, but we move around. We don't just stick with any one area. We do virtual, so we split test different areas, and we just go where it's good. A lot of the times we can do a deal without even sending boots on the ground. But if I do need to send boots, then we have on how we can get that set up and how we can get them over.
I guess that was my it prompted me to ask the question, because if you have an acquisition manager who's going to see the houses, so how does that work if you're switching locations and switching areas? Are you constantly having to update your acquisition manager team, or is it just one guy that's going to the deals?
One person going to the deals. They're virtual. You know, it's not their job to go and see properties. It's their job just to sell. All
Mhm.
they're doing is selling the offer. They're trying to
Mhm.
get deals done, you know. So if they were to go out and see houses, all that would do would slow them down. I don't
Mhm.
want them to do that. You can send boots on the ground to go do that. And in fact, a lot of the times you don't even need to use boots. You can have the seller send you pictures, send you video,
Mhm.
and your end buyer can be your boots. So
Mhm.
if you frame it a certain way with the seller, you're not going to need any of that. And your acquisition manager is good to just go and get these deals closed. And the best place to find them is groups. We use Facebook groups to hire.
Mhm.
So we find our appointment setters and our acquisition managers, our VAs, all of them inside Facebook groups.
Cool. Um, for some reason, my computer is plugged in, but it's telling me it's dead. So hold on one second, guys. I'm so sorry because I don't know why it's telling me that.
Uh-oh.
uh,
Maybe a flip breaker or something.
I know. I'm like, I don't want this to die in the middle of it here. So let's. Okay, I think it's just this is faulty. Okay, so you have your appointment setters. Now they're going on to Facebook, I assume, because this is what you guys do, right? You go into Facebook groups and you market. So the appointment setters, they're finding the deals in these Facebook groups. Let's talk a little bit more about the Facebook group marketing. So interesting.
Yeah, definitely. So we use Facebook groups because there's tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people within these groups. You know, some groups have 10,000 members, some of them have 50,000 members or more. So it's such a great place to be able to post for free. You're not paying a dime to Facebook, but you're getting thousands and thousands of dollars worth of ads, worth of impressions, and you're not spending a dime. So that's what's so cool about it. And if you get multiple Facebook accounts going, you can get more posts out there. So they'll go around, they'll post in these groups, and just kind of think of it like digital bandit signs, right?
Yep.
And then people respond, and we use the groups and we target local groups. And then as sellers are responding, we reach out to them on Messenger, qualify the lead, and then push that over to the acquisition manager to close. But we use groups to find sellers. We also use groups to find buyers. We
Mhm.
use groups to find boots on the ground, and we use them to recruit our VAs and recruit our appointment setters. So you can use groups for pretty much anything. We even use groups to grow our community and to grow my inner circle, our masterminds.
Hmm.
I have a team of commission-based salespeople selling my coaching program. So you can use groups for literally anything. It's so cool.
And what kind of groups are you marketing to? I mean, are these real estate investing groups or real estate groups?
So it depends on what your goal is. Let's say you're looking for sellers. The types of groups that we hit are going to be community based. So we want them to be local, number one, and
Mhm.
number two, you got to know what to avoid. What we avoid would actually surprise you. We're avoiding investor groups. We're avoiding real estate for sale groups, because within those groups, all you're going to find is other wholesalers and other
Mhm.
agents. So we stay away from real estate groups, just local community groups.
Cool.
So if you're trying to find buyers, investor groups are great. If you're trying to find virtual assistants, hit up virtual assistant groups and freelancer groups. If you're trying to recruit a commission-based sales team, you need to hit up newbie wholesaler groups and investor groups, because you want somebody with a sales background, US
Mhm.
based, somebody that can eventually take over as your acquisition manager when you promote them, and somebody that understands the game already.
Right. So you're going into these community-based groups looking for sellers, looking for homeowners who might be interested in selling their house. What is your marketing message? I'm guessing it's different than like the typical, hey, we buy houses cash, give us a call. Or maybe I'm assuming wrong, but what is your marketing message?
So we're normally short and sweet.
Okay.
If you do a short post with a bright background, that's going to get more traction than anything else. And when you post, when you're thinking about what to say, you want to ask a question, and you want to seem like some Joe looking for a house. You just want to seem like their neighbor trying to buy a house. You don't
Mm-hmm.
want to seem professional. You don't want to post glossy ads. You don't want to post
Right.
links. Don't seem like a company. Just be like a house hunter.
So, hey guys, my name's Carrie. I'm a cash buyer. I'm looking for a house in the area. Does anyone know of any houses that are selling, or is anyone in here interested in selling their home?
Yeah. So, or hey, I'm looking for a fixer, willing to pay in cash. Is anybody selling? Something along those lines.
Okay. So do you have any issues with getting kicked off of Facebook or getting tagged as spam? And how do you avoid that?
So some groups are more strict than others. Some
Yeah.
groups you can get kicked out of.
Yeah.
But if you reach out to the administrators and you build good relationships with the group administrators, that helps. And also try to follow the rules as much as you can.
Yeah.
If it's a strict group that's, let's say, photos of Portland, and all they want you to do is post historic images, there's groups like this, then don't start spamming that group, because you will get kicked out. So you have to pay attention to the rules of the community, and you have to respect that. And go through and scan through the community. So if you want to see if a Facebook group is okay to post in, join the group, go scan the community first, see what kind of things people are posting, and if they're posting things like that, then you can.
Yeah. Okay. I had a question. When you were talking about that. How many groups are out there? I mean, like, are there
hundreds, thousands? Yeah. There's so many.
All different
local community groups, hundreds in each market. There's so many. So if you just look up your city name, you're going to see a lot of different groups. And
are these usually like public groups, or are they private groups?
They can be both. They can be either or.
Okay. And so when you're posting in these groups, I mean, how often are you posting in them?
So there's a speed limit to not end up in Facebook jail, because Facebook jail is terrible. You can end up it's the digital slammer, right? And it can keep you from posting in other groups for up to 2 weeks. You can be blocked. So the speed limit to keep you out of Facebook jail is 13 actions per day. So an action can be joining a group, or it can be posting in a group. So if you're going to join groups and post in groups in the same day, you would join 6, post in 7.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And you want to do that consistently, 13 posts a day, 5 days a week. Consistency is key. And you don't want to overpost in the same groups. So you need a variety of groups to post in.
Right. Okay. So you just have your appointment setters going into these different groups, posting in the different groups, and they're on some kind of a system where they know when they've posted in that group and when the next time is to post. I'm guessing you have this all systemized.
Oh yeah, we have a tracking sheet to where the team can see a snapshot of where everybody else is posting. And then we even have a way to assign groups, like the most popular groups that everybody fights over. We actually divvy those up and assign them. Yeah, so it'd be like, that's your group this week. Next week you get that group. So yeah, that's how we do it.
It sounds fun. So it sounds like you've created a fun company culture within your appointment setters and your acquisition manager.
Yeah, culture is huge. If you want to be able to attract A players, you have to treat them like family. You have to have your own tribe going. Because the thing is a lot of people make the mistake of trying to attract A players with money. And then a lot of people have limiting beliefs that keeps them from finding good people, because they're like, I can't find good people yet because I'm not ready. Yeah. Right. Or I don't have the kind of money that they need to get paid. But don't worry about all that. That stuff doesn't matter. What A players care about most is community, having a tribe, a sense of family within their workplace, and also belonging to something that's bigger than themselves. Belonging to a bigger operation, squatting up. We're better together. Right. And lastly, a sense of ownership. They want to feel very important within the company. They want to feel like a piece of it. So if you have these things in place and you're leading with vision, you're leading with core values, and you're giving them a sense of ownership within the company, you can keep somebody forever. Another company could come and try to steal them away and offer them more money, and they won't go anywhere.
Yeah. And if you want to learn more about company culture, one of the best books I ever read that really I learned a lot about company culture and the culture that we wanted to create within our own company at that time. It's Tony Hsieh's book. That was the founder of Zappos. Unfortunately, he just passed away recently. But founder of Zappos, and he wrote a book that was called, I think, Delivering Happiness. And it talks a lot about the company culture that he built within Zappos, and ultimately why he was successful in his business was because of that culture that he had built.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
Because I love that. That's one of the pillars of my inner circle, is really creating a family. Like you're with your team probably just as much as you're going to be with your family if you're working with them every single day. You're communicating with them every single day. So you start to get close and you start to learn about them. You learn about their habits and their hobbies and their visions, their goals and their shortcomings. They'll share everything with you because they know that you're going to be there to support them, to get them through the hard times, to get them to the next level.
Did you have any like fits and starts when you first started your team? Because sometimes when you're first starting something out and the deals aren't coming as quickly as they do when you're more experienced and you have a system in place, people can tend to drop off, especially if they're commission based, right? Did you have any fits and starts when you first started your team that was commission based?
We still do. So sales is a revolving door, right? There's people that come and go, and this is any type of sales. And I learned this when I was working for DirecTV. I've been in direct sales and marketing for a decade, all of that commission based. Yeah. And through my career, I've seen people come and go like crazy. And I understand the 80-20 rule. 20% of your sales team will produce 80% of the work. Mm-hmm. So you got to realize that you need a recruiting machine. You need a recruiter that's constantly bringing in new people, new reps, and bringing in that fresh blood. Because people will come and go, and they might come, throw down a few leads, and then quit. But through that, you're getting free leads out of it. So it helps you stay encouraged. But eventually, somebody will stick, and somebody will find success and start to make money, and they'll be with you long term. And those are the people that become your core team. And they can eventually become management and take over your operations. You can trust them to take care of your company while you're away. Go on vacation for 2 weeks, come back and find out your team got a couple deals done.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And you're doing this while you're on the road in an RV with your family, traveling. And so how do you maintain that face-to-face connection with your team? Are you having Zoom calls? Are you having scheduled meetings?
Oh yeah, definitely. Just like we are now, we can see each other. See, we're in such a funny time, and especially with everything that happened last year, people are more used to meeting virtually. Yeah, it's becoming the norm. So it's just as easy to run a team virtually as in person. I've found we've got technology to where we can see each other on Zoom. So we have our weekly Zoom meetings. We talk to each other in a team chat, so we can constantly communicate to each other all day long, leave voice clips. So it's almost like we're talking to each other on walkie-talkies. Mm-hmm. I can send, there's a cool technology called Loom, LOOM.com. And what it does is it records your computer screen and records your voice. You can even record your face and put it in the corner. At the same time, it will record it. And then at the end, it saves it to the cloud. And it takes just a couple minutes, and then you get a shareable link. So you can quickly make a screen share video, and then at the end of it, you get a shareable link, and you can send that to your team member. So it's almost like you're sitting in the same room looking at the same computer as you're giving them instructions, but it's recorded. Yeah. So the technology definitely helps you run a virtual team more efficiently.
And it's called Loom, LOOM.
Yeah, LOOM, Loom. Loom.com. And then to put your team in a group chat to where everybody can talk to each other, that really gets like that office feeling going, and they can start to answer each other's questions and joke around all day long, and it makes it feel like you're more in an office. So that can be done with Slack, or we use Facebook Messenger. We just use group chats and Messenger for our team, which isn't as organized, trust me. But the reason I do it, but the reason we do it that way is because I have we tried to switch to Slack, and my team just wouldn't use it. They just stayed in Messenger. I could have forced them to switch over, but it seems like, since we're Facebook group marketers, everybody's on Facebook all day long, so it's so much easier just to communicate in there.
Cool. So we have a couple more minutes, and I would love for you to just share a quick example of a deal that you did that you found in one of your Facebook groups, if you're good with that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we had one where we were posting around and we weren't getting any traction at all. And we're like, man, is this market dead? I don't know if this market is going to be something that we can work in. So I made a tweak and I said in the post, I said, does anybody know anybody that's selling a property? I'm looking for fixers. So I just switched the script a little bit, trying to find people that can refer me properties.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I did that, the next day we had somebody that reached out, and his dad recently passed, and he didn't have control of the house. It was one of his siblings that had control of the property, but he ended up helping me make that connection. And we've done that a lot of times with friends or grandson or grandchildren or whatever. Mm-hmm. They're the ones on the computer, and the older generation is not. So mm-hmm. you might be able to get a referral that way. But this is the case with this property, and we ended up making $12,000 on that deal. But my favorite story is from my student. His name is Brandon Lee, and this is a dude that grew up in Venezuela. He's a 23-year-old kid, grew up in Venezuela, and it's rough over there. Everybody knows how rough it is. And he came over here for a better life. But when he started to work here, he's realized this is hard in the U.S. too. You got to figure out your own way. So he's like, entrepreneurship, that's the way to wealth. That's where my financial freedom is going to come from. So he jumped into wholesaling, and he struggled for a whole year, and he didn't get a deal for his entire first year. And then all of a sudden he found out about my program, and he had to borrow money because he didn't have the money to buy my program, but he borrowed the money in faith that he was going to make it work. And then 2 months later, he found a couple deals, and he made 6 figures within his first 60 days of my program.
Wow. What a life-changing event for someone like that. I mean, for many of us, but 23 coming from Venezuela with not a lot.
I love it because that's somebody that comes from such a harsh background.
Yeah.
Over there, people are going hungry. Their quality of life is just so poor because of the things that they're going through right now as a country. So this is somebody who comes to the U.S. for a better life and immediately sees that entrepreneurship is the way. So he burns his boats, and then all of a sudden it's not giving him the return that he expected. Yeah. And he was almost tapped out, but then all of a sudden everything clicked and it got better for him. And that's what makes that story so exciting and so fun.
Yeah. Well, it's persistence, right? It's about not giving up in the face of adversity. And I'm sure he had a strong why behind what he was doing. I'm sure he's got family and friends and all kinds of things that he's trying to just make a better life, right, for himself and others. And that is an amazing story. Very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. We have several members that we've helped make 6 figures within the first 2 or 3 months doing this because, for one, you're able to find deals each month like clockwork for free, right? Mm-hmm. But it's not just that. It's the fact that we're not hitting a list. We're not hitting a list that everybody else is hitting. Yeah. So it's super competitive and you're being outbid all the time. In many cases inside Facebook groups, you're going to be the first person that they're talking to and the only person. So that allows for bigger assignments.
Yeah. My last question is, what are you looking for when you go into markets and you're doing this Facebook marketing? What is it that allows you to determine whether this is a market that you want to invest in, both in your marketing, but invest in real estate?
So we definitely look for places that are not under lockdown. I remember we got out of New Jersey pretty quickly when all the lockdowns first happened. Yeah. We were doing good there, but then all of a sudden, boom, shut down, and we're like, okay, we got to move. So we are paying attention to that right now. And we're paying attention to trends, what's going on in the United States right now. California, there's a max exodus
Yep.
or a mass exodus. Over in New York, mass exodus. Where are
Mm-hmm.
they going? And I think, okay, where are these
Florida.
going? Florida, Texas,
Yep.
so at some point Colorado. So
Yep.
so I'm thinking about trends like that, but I also base it around the Facebook groups. Like,
Yep.
where are the groups good? I'm going to test around. I'm going to test all these other markets. I'm not tied down anywhere. I can post anywhere in the United States, find
Yeah.
a buyer in or build my buyers list from scratch within just 3 or 4 days, and be
Mm-hmm.
able to have a really strong buyers list. And so I just go where the groups are good.
Awesome. Well, you'll probably do well in Florida since everyone seems to be flocking to Florida too.
Yeah, Florida, we
At
definitely
least
have our eye on.
downstate, I think we live in our own little bubble down here. It's like, oh, the world's back to normal. It's not, but it's pretty much back to normal here in Florida.
Yeah, it's awesome over there, and so that's why you guys have so many people flocking over there right now. And I think with some of the things that happened in this last year,
Yeah.
people are making a decision. They're like, whose policies make the most sense for me, and
Yeah.
what are what area do I want my family to grow up in? For us, once we settle down again, right now we're doing the travel thing full time, but when we're ready, okay, let's buy a house. We're going to settle in Florida, more than likely. So we'll want our own house there, and we're also looking Texas heavily for properties to invest in for subject to. Subject to is also going to be really good for Florida in the coming years.
Yeah, it's interesting because for the last, I'd say 7 to 10 years, I've been trying to get out of Florida, and we keep building more and more roots here in Florida. And so finally this year, before the pandemic started, we were like, okay, we're going to get serious on moving out west. And then the pandemic hit, and I'm like, Florida's great.
Yeah.
We're just going to stay in Florida.
Yeah, it's not that bad over here.
Really
yeah,
not.
exactly.
We have nice weather. It's warm. We're not locked down. I mean, there's really nothing to complain here right now. So
yeah,
all of a sudden, I'm like, I love Florida.
yeah, it's nice over there, and then the market's popping.
It is
like all over. Like and
is.
there is going to be a market correction pretty soon. I feel like it can be worse than 08. I really do. Once things start to make that shift and everything starts to drop, I think it might be worse than 2008.
Yeah. That's interesting. You're the first person that I've heard say that, but I have like mixed feelings on what's going on. I don't know. It's so hard to tell what's going to go on with the market. What I do know is what you are saying, and that there are certain places right now that people are going to. So if there is a correction that's nationwide or even worldwide, right? The places that are going to do best are obviously going to be the places that are growing, like Texas and like Florida. And so you can hedge that risk more when you invest in the growth areas, the places where it just makes sense why people are going to those areas.
I agree 100%. And that's what I think, where parts of the United States are going to be hit hard by the market correction. There's going to be areas that aren't hit nearly as hard because that's where everybody's moving. If California continues to get worse in the market, they hit their recession there in California, it creates this ripple effect across the United States, but not every area is going to be affected the same.
Right.
Some areas will not go down that much. And I think Texas and Florida are definitely going to be on that list of areas that are pretty good as far as the recession goes.
Yeah. Well, and then we're ready to swoop on in when prices are low, right? And I'm all for buying property in San Diego to hold to.
Yeah. See, I do mostly wholesaling, but subject to is something that we're starting to go more heavily into, and I'm just kind of starting to want to hold and build a portfolio instead of just doing transactional income. So that's more of the direction I'm going. But I am looking at market trends and paying attention to these things because I don't want to lose. I know one thing that really has my eye is multifamily investing. I have some friends that do that, and they do it virtually. They'll purchase and they'll refinance apartments all over the U.S. And I think that's really neat. But that's something I'm probably going to wait a little bit until I do.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Thank you so much, Kyle, for coming on We got into building acquisition teams. We got into Facebook groups. We got into the political climate of the real estate market. I think we covered a lot here. So
Yeah, we did.
Where can people find you if they have more questions or they just want to connect with you?
So I have a free Facebook group. It's called Group Marketing Real Estate Investing Leads. And I go live on a weekly basis. I'm always providing content. I'm showing video and pictures from our adventure, from our journey. I do expert interviews just about every week. I'm always doing freebies and giveaways. So it's a great group to get a ton of value. It's called Group Marketing Real Estate Investing Leads.
Awesome. Well, I hope you enjoy the rest of your time in Utah, and you'll be in Florida soon. So yeah, I'm excited to see where you're going this year in your RV. Exciting life. And I think it's just so interesting the way that you've built your life with the business that you have. It's really inspiring, and just goes to show you that you can live whatever life you want to live with this business.
No, 100%. You can manifest whatever you want. You just have to want it bad enough, and then shape your priorities around that. And your habits are key.
Yeah. Great.
But it was so much fun. I appreciate it, Carrie.
Yeah, you too. So I will let you guys, Kyle, get back to your family. You guys, this is all going to be in the show notes on the podcast in a few weeks, so don't worry. But if you have any questions as you're watching this after the live stream, just post them here and we will get them answered. Thank you again, Kyle, for coming on. Go enjoy your family now and go and enjoy the trails in Utah. It's beautiful out there.
For sure. Thanks, guys. See ya.
All right, we'll see you on the next episode. And remember, you are only one deal away.
All right, guys. Bye.